Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So a few posts ago, I think it was last week, I asked if anyone wanted to know my story, and a few people did get back to me and say that they would like to know my story when I was putting on posts about eating disorders. So I have put together this little video. To be honest, it was quite difficult to speak about. It's quite raw still. It's something that I think I will always have. So yeah, this is quite tough really to come out and say, but I think with the stigmatism that there is around eating disorders, that if people are able to, then we need to speak out, just so we can help other people. And if my experience resonates with anyone, and helps anyone in any way, then great. That's what we're all here for at the end of the day, is to support each other and help each other, because far too many people suffer with eating disorders, male and female, and it's just not right. So my personal story, I've suffered since I was 18. I don't have the traditional sort of anorexia, which perhaps is slightly more associated or the more recognised eating disorder. Now with anorexia, it's just as devastating. It's actually, I think, more devastating when you have anorexia than the one I have, just because you starve yourself just so much, and you'll see people just be deathly thin. But that is one of the ways it's recognised with people, because it's so obvious to the eye. It becomes to the point where it's just so obviously seen. So the reason why I managed to go 10 years with no help and with nobody noticing, to be honest, not even my closest family. They showed concerns at a good few points. They were really concerned, but it didn't transpire, to what was really going on. And that was because I have bulimia. So bulimia means that you it's really hard to speak about. I don't know whether you kind of take one step further from anorexia, so it's not just the starvation, it's the making yourself sick as well, and that I only started about a year ago from now, but one thing I find really hard to talk about is the fact that I have bulimia with the binge eating, and this is the reason why it wasn't picked up, because I would go for weeks starving myself, like I said, 4 or 5 days not eating, to then, obviously, because my body was so lacking nutrients, and I did become extremely nutrient deficient, I then would binge eat, and so my weight always fluctuated from like 8.2 to 9.2, or down to 7.4. So obviously when I was at my lowest, my family were really concerned. But then the eating disorder, the binge eating took over. So then I would put the weight back on, and everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, she's okay. She's put weight back on. That's fine." But what they didn't know was how much I was damaging my body and how much I was suffering. I literally couldn't go a minute without thinking about food. I was either hungry or worried I'd eaten too much, or felt sick from eating, or thinking what I could binge on next time. Every second of the day is not an exaggeration that food was on my mind. It was just horrendous, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And so that sort of carried on, the binge eating. When I was at my heaviest, it coincided with the fact that I have a chronic medical condition which is quite severe, and I'm often on corticosteroids for that, which obviously, if anyone's been on corticosteroids, you'll know that you often gain weight with them. So whenever I gained weight, my family just assumed, oh, it's because of the prednisone. But the reality of it was, yes, it probably did increase my appetite, but they didn't know at the time just sort of how much I was binge eating. And I feel ashamed to admit this, but I need to, because it was so tough, and if anyone else is going there, it's just something you don't want to talk about, and I really want to help anyone who's going through it, because I never saw a way out. I never saw a way out. I you know, I've sat with painkillers ready to overdose, and I'm frightened of dying. That's how desperate I was. I'm absolutely petrified of dying, but I still sat there, and I did actually overdose at one point on my painkillers because I'd had enough. Just had enough. It's a tough thing to talk about, and an even tougher thing to go through. So, try and pull myself together. You don't really want to see me crying on camera, it's not really fun. Really, like I said, sorry. So, like I said, with the binge eating, it's always been on and off, and the starvation's always been on and off. But it was only really like a year ago when I started to, I don't know, to go down the anorexia route a little bit more, I guess. When I realised that I was really sort of struggling when we went on honeymoon, and I was just desperate to not eat anything unhealthy. I felt close to tears often when we'd ate. I just felt disgusting. I was pushing to be in the gym every day. The thought of eating something panicked me. I didn't enjoy my food, and again, food was on my mind all of the time. And actually, when I came back, I had an consultant appointment with my gastro. I see the gastro with part of my condition, and they said that my weight was so seriously low that they were ready to admit me and tube feed me, which is really shocking. And it was shocking to know that although I had this eating disorder, I'd kind of done it to myself. Yeah, it was really hard. And they actually said, I pleaded and begged and cried, please don't hospitalise me, please don't put a feeding tube in me, I can't do this. My family didn't know what was happening, my husband didn't properly know how I was feeling, and I just couldn't do it. So they gave me a few weeks to try and put weight on, so I didn't, but they said that after that, if I went back and I hadn't gained weight, then I would be hospitalised immediately for a long time and tube fed. At that point, I realised I needed to speak to my husband. So that night, I just broke down in tears and told him everything, and he already kind of knew what was going on, but didn't know the extreme. And the extreme came after our wedding, actually, between August and Christmas last year, or August and January this year, actually, when I then started to make myself sick. And that got to the point where it was after every meal, after every snack, and then it got worse and worse, so it would be 4, 5, 6, 7 times after, just to try and get everything up. I know it's not very nice to talk about, I'm sorry. It would be to the point where I was vomiting blood. I had blisters all down my throat. Again, this is because it triggered off my chronic illness, but you know, the stress on my body was horrendous. My period stopped for 6 months, you know, and that was a worry because I want to have children, and I already have a lot of problems with my ovaries and my reproductive system. I'm waiting on stomach surgery at the moment, and considering I'm 30 now, I do want to have children, so it was a real worry. So these started to be wake-up calls, you know. Being threatened to be tube fed was very realistic, possibly losing my fertility. I couldn't eat without crying. I'd sit in the evening and I'd eat my meal with my husband, which was literally corn, fillets and veg, and I would just burst into tears after it, and he'd have to stop me from making myself sick. Christmas Day, he fell asleep and I went upstairs to make myself sick. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse, and I couldn't eat without crying. I didn't understand what a proper day of eating was. My husband just kept saying, you just need to eat breakfast, you just need to eat breakfast. And I couldn't get my head around it. What is breakfast? What do I do? I've never had breakfast for years. You know, but then the real straw that broke the camel's back for me was October time, when my hair started falling out. And when I say started falling out, I lose a bit anyway because of the mild chemotherapy treatment I'm on. But I mean, I could just do that and I would have thick clumps like that much out of my hair. and I was just keeping these massive clumps of hair, and it got so bad that I had to wash my hair once a week, because I would lose that much, and I lost half the amount of my hair. It was so brittle, and I literally couldn't wash my hair. I'd wake up in the morning and it would be thick clumps. It was like I was having cancer treatment, and I realised, what am I doing? I was just going down a really serious path, and my husband was on board at this point, and he helped me a lot. And I will say that if you are going through anything like this, you just need that one person that you can feel you can trust. Now, it took me 3 years to be able to open up to my husband about this, and it was only, like I say, when I was becoming seriously unwell with it, at the point of hospitalisation, that it wasn't because I wanted to, it was because I felt I just had to reach out and seek help. And I actually, for the first time, went to my consultant and said, I need help. And for the first time, I realised, what am I doing to my body? This is not worth it. It's not worth it to lose a little bit of fat. It's just not worth it. And yet I'm not 100% happy with my body now, but I tell you what, I'm the happiest I've been from weight training and from actually eating and from the last bulk I did, and I'm just so grateful to be on the journey coming out of it. And since January, if you look back at my pictures, you'll see how thin I was then. I had no muscle. I was losing muscle, not fat. And at those photos, I still thought I wasn't thin enough, and I was ill. And I think I'll always have this. I still sometimes have pangs of not knowing what to eat, not wanting to eat, panicking with cheat meals and things. But then I just look at the pictures and I think, well, look at the muscle I've got on me now, and I'm so much happier. And having muscle burns fat, so I'm much more likely to burn the fat anyway. But you know, it's been a hard process in the last 6 months, of what dragged me out of it. And if I'm brutally honest, that was the only reason I started my Instagram account. It was because I needed accountability. I needed someone to be looking at my photos and someone to, to think that I'm not letting them down. I needed the support as well that I've gained from Instagram, and I just did it because I felt that it would help me out of a dark place, and it really did. And I put weight training in for the first time, which, thanks to my husband, has really got me out of my eating disorder. I've put on a stone, but a lot of it, I'm pleased to say, is muscle, and I genuinely am the happiest I've ever been. But I've had a really hard road, and I know I've not had as tough a journey as a lot of people have with these illnesses. I was never actually hospitalised for one, so I was lucky in that sense. But the whole reason for my channel wasn't just for me and to get support from me. It was because eventually I knew I would feel ready to share my story, and I really want to help others. So please, I felt like there was no way out. I just didn't see I'd ever get out of it, and I did eventually. Please, if you feel like this, please contact me. I don't care what type of comments and messages you send me, how low you are, I will help you. I want to help people through this, because people should not suffer this. And also tell me, I want to know about your stories of getting better. It means a lot to me to be able to support others and be a part of sort of the healing process, to link up with other people and really help people, just as much as people have helped me. But you don't know how much you've helped me being a part of my Instagram and my YouTube. Believe me, you've helped me more than I could ever thank you, and more than you'll ever know, because it's led me down the path to recovery, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you so much for your support. And please, if you have any questions, if you're struggling, if you want to know how I got out of it, the tips that I did for every day, how I deal with day-to-day situations now, going out and eating, please contact me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I really am. I'm just so grateful. Thank you, and I will speak to you in the next video.